Mr. Whitehouse, or Senator Whitehouse.
Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Bondi, good morning.
Good morning.
What became of the $50,000 in cash that the FBI paid to Mr. Homan in a paper bag, evidently?
Senator, as Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan was subjected to a full review by the FBI, agents, and DOJ prosecutors. They found no credible evidence of any wrongdoing.
And that was not my question. My question was, what became of the $50,000 in cash that the FBI delivered, evidently in a paper bag, to Mr. Homan?
Senator, I'd look at your facts.
Are you saying that they did not deliver $50,000 in cash to Mr. Homan?
Senator, as recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan was subjected to a full review
different question.
by the FBI agents,
That's a
by
different
Department
question.
of Justice prosecutors. They found no evidence of wrongdoing.
That's a different question. What became of the $50,000? Did the FBI get it back?
Mr. Whitehouse, excuse me, Senator Whitehouse, you're welcome to talk to the FBI.
The report to you, can't you answer this question?
Senator Whitehouse, you're welcome to discuss this with Director Patel.
Did Homan keep the $50,000?
As Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche recently stated, the investigation
never mind.
of Mr.
Never
Homan
mind. I can
was
see I'm not going to get a
full
straight answer from you to a very simple
by
question.
the FBI agents and the DOJ.
Do
They
you
found
know-
no credible evidence of wrongdoing. You know, you're very concerned about money and people taking money, and
Do
you
you
rail
know-
against
wait a
dark
second,
money.
wait a second, wait a
Yet you
second,
work with dark
wait a
money
second.
groups all the time, Senator
Wait a
Whitehouse.
second.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so for the avid viewers of this channel, you saw that and you're like, hang on just a second. That's fake news. That's right, folks. We covered this a little while back. It wasn't that long ago, maybe a week, week and a half, 2 weeks at the most. This fake news, as a matter of fact. And there's many reasons why it's fake news, but it is fake news, folks. There was no $50,000. They've never produced the audio tape supposedly recorded, right? An anonymous source. There's all kinds of things to go over this, but that is fake news right there. What is the problem with these senators with just fact-checking simple things, right? Stop just reading the news and believing the corporate press and their lies and manipulations, folks. As a matter of fact, if he would have read through that news article and, you know, maybe put a bit of a skeptical eye on this or critical thinking, any of those two, he would have realized that, hang on, there's no evidence here that Tom Homan even received $50,000. This is all fascinating. We're going to go over this, y'all. But y'all do me a favor. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. Click that join button to sign up and become a member, John. You know you want to. You need to. But, you know, anyway, after John clicks the join button and signs up and becomes a member, we can get on with the video.
Did you know whether or not in that investigation they looked at whether the 2024 $50,000 payment to Mr. Homan was declared by him on his tax returns?
Senator, I would be more concerned if I were you when you talk about corruption and money that when you pushed for legislation that would subsidize your wife's company.
The questions here are actually pretty specific. So having you respond with completely irrelevant far-right internet talking points really is not very helpful here. I'd like, Mr. Chairman, you generally like to have us be able to get answers to know, and we'll follow up with the QFR. And to the extent Patel wants to answer, that would be great as well. What happened to the $50,000? Did Homan keep it? Did the FBI get it back? If he kept it, did he put it on his tax returns? Pretty simple questions. Homan was the same guy who said there was a deal with Eric Adams. He said, if Adams doesn't come through, I'll be back. I'll be in his office, up his butt, saying, where the hell is the agreement we came to? Which brings us to the OPR investigation of prosecutorial misconduct by Emil Bovee, because he was also involved in that transaction. Yeah. What became of the OPR investigation of prosecutorial misconduct by Emil Bovee?
Yeah, Senator Whitehouse, to correct you for one moment, that would be the Honorable Judge Emil J. Bovee III to you.
Not at the time of this. He was an employee of the Department of Justice. And what became of the OPR investigation?
It's all pending litigation,
misconduct?
Senator. I can't discuss pending litigation nor personnel matters.
OPR customarily publicly says when there's an investigation, and at the end of it, they provide a summary. Why can't you say whether there's an OPR investigation and whether, if it's concluded, there's a summary?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss personnel matters.
Even public ones?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss personnel matters.
So, Kash Patel told this committee that his grand jury testimony after immunization, after initially pleading the Fifth, was, and I quote, sealed by the Department of Justice. How and when and why was his testimony sealed, and by whom?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss any testimony, especially testimony that could be sealed with you.
No, the question is, was it or was it not sealed?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss that with you.
Well, he also said that he worked with the Department of Justice to have his transcript released publicly. How and when was his transcript released? Presumably, if he released it publicly, that's something you can discuss because it's public.
Well, Senator, I believe you discussed that with Director Patel.
And I'm asking you because he said the Department of Justice made this decision and you run the Department of Justice.
I would refer that to Director Patel.
Even though you run the Department of Justice and he testified that the Department of Justice released his transcript publicly.
If it is released publicly, we will get you a copy, Senator, gladly.
If, being a rather important word there, when your FBI director testified that that was a fact. Treasury compiles suspicious activity reports, referred to often as SARs, that DOJ receives automatically. Hundreds related to accounts of Jeffrey Epstein. How many of those Treasury SARs did you or Director Patel investigate?
Senator, I'm not sure if you're concerned because you took money, I believe, did you, from Reid Hoffman, one of Epstein's closest confidants, not only once but twice in 2018 and 2024, if that's correct. But, Senator, did you ask Merrick Garland any of this over the last 4 years when he sat before you? This investigation has been going on. This investigation was closed. Did you ask Alex Acosta that?
And Patel came to office, you said you would look into this. There were hundreds of suspicious activity reports. Some people would deduce from the fact that they are called suspicious activity reports that there might be suspicious activity. And yet you seem to have looked at zero of those suspicious activity reports involving Jeffrey Epstein accounts. Let me ask you something else. There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe, I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman, who was with Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions. And the senator sitting right next to you tried to block the flight logs from being released. Yet you're grilling me on President Trump and some photograph with Epstein? Come on.
The question is, did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly by a witness who claimed Jeffrey Epstein showed them to him? You don't know anything about that. Okay. Here's what well, no, we cut to something else. The Marshal Service is supposed to protect our federal judges. I have asked repeatedly for the Marshal Service to let me know if they are investigating or being inhibited from investigating whether or not there is orchestration of threats against federal judges, whether under either conspiracy laws or racketeering enterprise laws or aiding and abetting laws, whatever. But as you know, there's the person who says the threat, and then there may very well be somebody orchestrating the threat behind them. Is the Marshal Service allowed to investigate orchestration of threats, and do you know if they've taken one step to do so?
May I answer the question, Chairman Grassley? The time has expired.
I think it's the convention of the committee that if I've started my question in my time, you may answer the question.
I was asking the chairman.
Okay, before I go to Cornyn.
She wants to answer the question, Chairman.
Oh, please go ahead. I thought you said you didn't want to answer it. I'm
Yes, sir.
sorry.
Thank you. Senator Whitehouse, I would be happy to sit down with you regarding any threat to any federal judge in this country. We take threats very seriously. I will set a meeting with you, with Director Serralta of the U.S. Marshals, and I will be there. And we will talk about any threats on federal judges,
including orchestration,
who threatened them or who orchestrated them.
Bingo. Thank you.
I just want to say right off the jump, I almost said this yesterday, but I guess I forgot to say it, y'all, that, you know, Pam Bondi right here, she seems like she's trying to force the contention, if you know what I mean. I don't know if you guys can pick up on that, but it's like it's being forced to be contentious with the senator right here. It's kind of cringe, if you will, and I don't like it all that much. But hey, you know, good job. Do what you do. You know, push back against these people. These people are not used to being pushed back on, right? And I love this. Let's get into substance here. Okay, so getting back to the whole Tom Homan 50K thing, right? So if you want the full details on that, go back through my video archive. Like I said, it was like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago. I covered this news article. The corporate press, they come out. And once again, it's an unsubstantiated report. They never produced the audio. And I've searched for this audio. I can't seem to find it. You know, for one, it's an unverified claim. In other words, it's an anonymous source. We don't know who said this, where this money came from. Like, once again, we don't even know if the $50,000 exists because they did their investigation. They looked at his tax returns. Oh, they didn't see the $50,000. Well, you know, if you took a bribe, which is what it's being called here, took a bribe, well, you're not going to file that on your taxes. Where's the need? But they did the investigation anyway. So, you know, secondly, or thirdly, I guess you could say, even in the news article, they say this is all unverified and we can't prove anything. They never produced the audio tape. And once again, folks, though, you know, audio, just like with video nowadays, that's easily faked. Like, and another thing, what I got into on that other video is how are you going to be able to tell that it's $50,000 through an audio tape, right? Like you're listening to some audio, unless they're actually saying, here you go, Mr. Homan. Here is a bag, a paper bag with $50,000 in it for your bribe. how are you going to know that they accepted anything, that there was even money in the bag? Like, how do you know any of this unless they're openly saying this on the audio tape, right? It was presented in the corporate press as if he was caught, as if this was fact, as if everybody knows it, you know it, your mama knows it, the next door neighbor knows it, the Karen down the street knows it, everybody knows it, right? But hang on, like I said, it's all unsubstantiated from an anonymous source. Like, why is the senator pretending that this is real? Like, where did the $50,000 go? Did he keep it? Like, we don't even know if that $50,000 even existed. Now they're telling you, hey, it's all unsubstantiated. They did their investigation. There was nothing wrong here, folks. But, once again, you could always resort back to, well, we investigated ourselves and we found that we did nothing wrong. I love it, folks. I love every single minute of this. We'll never know because the corporate press will never do their job and produce the audio tape. Plus, even if they did produce audio, right, that would have to be scrutinized to see if it's fake. Secondly, we would have to listen to the audio, know what's in the audio. And, like I said, unless they're sitting there saying, hey, Mr. Homan, here's a bag full of $50,000. There's no way to know. Like, think about it for a second, folks. People don't just walk in somewhere if you're giving somebody a bribe and say, here's your bribe, here's the $50,000. There you go, right? So, once again, but we don't know because they never produce the freaking audio, and it's an anonymous source. It's always an anonymous source. All of these salacious claims, if you think about it, that's why I cover a lot of them. And getting back to what they were talking about right there at the end with the threats. Yes, I would love it if they would actually go after not only the people making the threat, but try to figure out if those threats are being funded or orchestrated by somebody else. And as a matter of fact, yesterday, when I learned of this hearing, when I found out this hearing took place, I was covering Senator Whitehouse. This was a video I recorded to do right here. Senator Whitehouse was actually grilling somebody from the U.S. Marshal Service about that very issue. And they were discussing it back and forth. And we couldn't get any straight answers. And that's one of those things that kind of makes you go, why are we not getting a straight answer on a question like that? That doesn't matter who it's coming from. Democrat, Republican, Independent, Libertarian. Doesn't matter who it's coming from. We should be able to get a straight up answer on that. I don't care if you're being contentious, you're being argumentative, whatever it is with the senator. That's a simple, plain out question. Can you go after the orchestrators of these threats? Because most of the time, especially when it comes to federal judges, schoolhouses, things of this nature, right, those threats must be taken as serious, right? They must be taken as a credible threat. They have to investigate. They have to go through the whole hoopla and investigate that thing all the way through. Because, if you just say, oh, well, this ain't a credible threat, and then kaboom, we got a problem here, folks. We got a major problem here. So those things have to be taken seriously. And I don't understand. I was talking about this the other day. I don't understand why these people think that that's okay. Like, what do you plan on doing by calling in and threatening somebody's life or a bomb threat or anything like that? Like, are you just intent on causing chaos? And for what reason? What is the outcome? Just the chaos? I think anybody that just wants chaos like that and calls in a threat, breaks the law in any way, should have the absolute largest possible book thrown at them. They should be thrown under the jail for as long as possible for the charges, right? For whatever charge they get for whatever it is. It's insane. I don't know why we can't get straight answers. Look, I understand, Pam Bondi, you want to be contentious with this dude, but give a straight freaking answer. Look, the whole Jeffrey Epstein nonsense, I'm not even really going to talk about that because we've talked about that so much that I don't even know where we stand anymore with Jeffrey Epstein. Like, as far as what information do we have and what information do we need and blah, blah, blah. Like, who cares about Jeffrey Epstein anymore? Democrats have proven, once again, that they don't care about that issue either. The only reason they're even talking about it is because they can use it as a political bludgeon because, once again, another salacious claim with an anonymous source that's unverified, unconfirmed, unsubstantiated. Oh, that Donald Trump wrote this letter to Jeffrey Epstein, some weird, really creepy birthday letter that was signed Donald. Like, once again, we go and look. Let's look for patterns here, okay? Has Donald Trump ever signed a letter Donald? No, as a matter of fact. Sure, does it look like his handwriting? Yes, but we all know, come on, that's not evidence of anything because we all know that handwriting can be copied. That's easily done by many, many, many people, folks. That is very easy to do. So when you get a salacious claim from an anonymous source that kind of doesn't sound right, you know, the speech in the letter doesn't sound like Donald Trump. None of it makes any sense, y'all. None of it makes any sense. But I love every single bit of this. Go ahead, Bondi. Do what you got to do, but you're being a bit cringe. That's what I'm going to say on that. You're being cringe-worthy. That is for sure. Don't force it. Just let it flow right out of you. That's what you got to do. But, you know, Bondi, she's not a political commentator or anything like that, so of course it's going to seem forced because she's trying to force the issue. It seems like she wants to be on the attack. You'll never be on the attack. You're always going to be on the defensive when it comes to situations like that because the senators in that room, they are king. They are on the top of the hill. They get to dictate terms to you. So you must play by their rules and beat them at their own game when you're in those chambers. As a matter of fact. So Bondi just doesn't seem to be able to do that very well. But, you know, I'll give her credit for trying. You get a C from me. That's it, folks. You guys let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. And if you could, like I said, John, click that join button. Sign up and become a member. You know you want to. You've been watching my videos for long enough. But I'm really speaking to everybody. Y'all click that join button, sign up, because we need to help this channel expand and grow, y'all. That's all there is to it. Bottom line. Boom. At the end of the day, when it's all said and done, that's where it is. But you guys remember that God has a plan for all of us, folks. Everybody. You might not like that plan. You may not know what that plan is, but the plan is there. And He loves each and every one of you out there. So y'all try to have a good day and stay legitical. Peace.